Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hearthstone Major at PAX East, presented by the One Nation of Gamers. My name is TJ. I am joined once again by That Admirable. We're getting pretty far into the day now. I think we were broadcasting for seven-ish hours now, but we still have, I think, quite a bit more to go. I think we still have 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe matches left on the day. 7
8,
even.
9, 10.
Yeah. Hell,
We'll
even
just
11.
cast for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. I wouldn't even mind that. But Kolento and HotAsianGirl coming up next. Kolento we've seen play a few times now over the course of the weekend, once yesterday and one today. He's had some impressive performances. HotAsianGirl, though, one of the players to enter in the Open, not a completely unknown player, played in the winter prelims just a few months ago for the Americas region. I know lives over there in the East. He was at like the DC location, so is a player that is highly rated. So not too easy of a match for Kolento here, who we talked about yesterday, a deck rated Hearthstone career, but same decks.
Yeah, kind of interesting that they line up with Paladin, Warlock, and Warrior in this one. I mean, Paladin. I mean, these are three very popular choices, but two very different bands on one side, where Kolento has his Druid band out and HotAsianGirl has a Mage band out. I've played against Hot on ladder a few times in my career. Very solid play that I've seen. I mean, not really any slip-ups that are noticeable or that stand out. Just very solid, consistent play from what I've seen. Certainly not an opponent that I would celebrate about playing in any event at this stage. But as you close in towards that round of 30, that round of 32, round of 16 area, you're going to have a more stacked field. Like the better players are going to float towards the top most often. And so these kinds of matches are going to be cropping up. Look for more and more opponents who are very skilled to be playing against each other as we close in on these final rounds.
Yeah, looking at some of the players that are still left remaining before we jump to this matchup real quick. Amnesiac, Nostum, Super JJ, the Jordude, Orange, Ray C, who's a player on Vicious Syndicate, Astrogation, and Trump. So all those players still left remaining. All those known players still left remaining. So that's a pretty big portion of the 30-ish players that are still left in the tournament. So we are going to move into this matchup, and guess what? It is going to be a Murloc Paladin Mirror.
Oh, that's what. Oh, yeah, this is totally standard. I see these all the times in competitive play. Now, in truth, though, I have never played the mirror match of this deck. It is something that is faced very rarely. You know, I'm reluctant to play this deck because I think it's so difficult to pilot that the time investment necessary. And Hot is actually just going to keep an anything can happen in their opening hand.
It is such an important card in this matchup. It is. Oh no, punished.
Is it punished? I mean, if they keep one, like, there's a third.
Punished.
I don't know how this matchup goes. I really don't.
Basically, it's the first person to play anything can happen, given that enough Murlocs have been played.
So, are you trying to avoid playing Murlocs this matchup? Like, this may be one of the reasons why Buster.
No. Okay, so this matchup is actually kind of weird. Okay, because it's the first it depends how many Murlocs have died, because you have to consider that the thresholds for the Murlocs are increased because of the fact that both players are playing Murlocs. So a lot of times the first anything can happen, where against any other matchup, the damage threshold is 22 for the first one. In this matchup, you get above 30 very, very easily. So you either have to have two plans. Avoid playing Murlocs at all costs, unless you know that your opponent has played enough to where you think they're going to play their anything can happen first. But a lot of it comes down to math at the end of the day. I wonder if these players are allowed to take notes. Because if they can, then it's going to be a lot easier to do the math to be able to keep track of the Murlocs. If they're not, then sometimes this math can be hard. And I actually have a notepad open, plus I have an actual notebook in front of me, which I'm going to be using to take notes on how many Murlocs have died in this matchup. I also have my calculator open on my computer. So
I've brought my abacus to this one. Yeah. And my sundial's all set up, so we're going to make a new Aztec calendar here and figure out exactly who's got the advantage. Hang on, let me slide a couple of these beads. It's Kolento.
So one Murkai has died so far. So if anything can happen is played the next turn, it's going to deal a total of 2 damage.
Expert analysis by TJ. Now, Kolento has initiated the Murlocs with the old Murkai. Like to play him to clear out the Doomsayer. The muster for battles, I feel like, are actually giving him a very interesting dynamic where he can just keep playing 1/1s and force some action from Hot, who does have access to coin anything can happen, but needs enough Murlocs to die before he gets to that point. And considering that he hasn't had a muster for battle yet, I feel like he's actually a little bit on the back foot. He's just going to use True Silver Champion to attack a 1/1 and then Solemn Vigil for 4 mana.
Nice. Yeah. So I like how you abbreviated Hot Asian Girl's name to Hot.
I don't want to say that every time, man. I'm an adult.
I'm just gonna abbreviate his name to Girl.
I'm going with Hot for the rest of this match. I am an adult.
I wonder what Girl's play is here.
Well, it's Bluegill Warrior, an attack for 2. So now the next anything can happen that gets cast will deal 5 damage.
5? Well, it hasn't died yet.
Well, it's going to.
Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't move those abacus beads over too quickly now.
Yeah, let me slide them back. Hang on.
Look how you're trying to simulate. Give the impression that you actually have an abacus. That'd be the best Hearthstone
Did actually have an abacus, like a Hearthstone themed abacus.
Yeah.
Like, where did you even get that from? I kind of want that.
Yeah.
Product placement. Holler at me, Blizzard.
All right.
I'm just gonna keep poking away. We've seen death by 1,000 cuts once today with Trump. We're gonna see if Hot can manage to fight back through this one. Sludge Belcher is presenting a little bit of an obstacle here. So I'm going to try to turn that into liability with Aldor Peacekeeper and Acolyte of Pain, get the card draws rolling. If he doesn't coin here, now Kolento has an opportunity to force a burn. But is that worth it?
Not sure if it's worth it, because a lot of the key cards in Girl's deck are also key cards in Kolento's deck. So the only thing that he would like to see burned isn't anything can happen, which is such a rare, such a rare sight to see. It'd be pretty unlikely that would happen. That would be the card that's burned.
Yeah, I'm just gonna push for damage here. Looks like wants to set a True Silver Champion. This is kind of interesting that Kolento's just put together. He's kind of just beating him down.
Yeah, this is another way to win this matchup. Is just to go with the beatdown plan. It's just to put pressure on, because anything can happen. Yeah, it deals a lot of burst damage, but you don't even need to deal that much burst damage if you've already put your opponent pretty low. And that's one of the risks of keeping anything can happen. It means you don't have stuff to fight back on the board with. And now Kolento doesn't even have to piece together that much damage in order to find a win. So I just want to check in with a quick update on the anything can happen situation. If it's played right now, it will still deal 5 damage.
Let me check the abacus here. Yep, that's right. This is really rough plays. I mean, nothing here looks very good. Just pick an extra card draw value. I mean, Lay on Hands is not castable right now.
Yeah. I think Girl's best play here is just do a Quality Wild Pyromancer.
Yeah, True Silver Champion going to come down. I imagine this is going to be Coin and Anti-Killbot. I don't know. I don't imagine this is going to be Coin Anti-Killbot here. Of course, as soon as I take it back, I'm likely wrong here. They saved then Acidic Swamp Ooze and maybe even Doomsayer here. Looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, because then he guarantees that all of his stuff dies. But I mean, even it doesn't matter if it dies or if it doesn't die. It's still going to be there, whether it dies or doesn't die. So Kolento just setting up a lethal next turn. So even if everything dies on the board this turn, there's been 1 Murkai, 2 Bluegills, and 1...
A little bit of a misstep. Kolento is going to go with Murloc War... actually, Murloc War Leader, Bluegill Warrior, attack, and then Acidic Swamp Ooze, and maybe even Doomsayer here looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, because then he guarantees that all of his stuff dies. But I mean, even it doesn't matter if it dies or if it doesn't die. It's still going to be there, whether it dies or doesn't die. So Kolento just setting up a lethal next turn. So even if everything dies on the board this turn, there's been 1 Murk-Eye, 2 Bluegills, and 1 War Leader, which is 8 damage from the Bluegills and 7 damage from the Murk-Eye. So that'd be a total of 15. So
I think Kolento just won.
yeah. Oh man, Hot. I'll call him Hot. I concede.
Got him. Yeah. So the fact that he had the muster for battles in here made such a big difference. Like he was able to start chipping away and force action from Hot, which led him into this position where he's free to play Murlocs. Hot doesn't have an answer to it. Anything can happen is not any good, even if he had the coin right now. And Kolento just casts anything can happen and wins the game. And like in this position, just suicide the Murloc War Leader, cast anything can happen. Is that enough damage? 4?
If he suicides the War Leader, then he'll have it'll still be he'll have 2 War Leaders.
You can also suicide the Bluegill as well.
But that would just be the same thing.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So 2 War Leaders, 2 Bluegills. So that would be a total of 12 damage, plus the Murk-Eye, which would be 10 damage. Or does he just have it with what's on board? Yeah, he has the True Silver Champion. That's just lethal with what's on board. Yeah.
Wow, Kolento really, really kept the pressure high in this one. Muster for Battle did so much work in this matchup. That actually may be one of the reasons why I included it in here. In addition to being able to fight for the board early, if you happen to run into the mirror match, instead of it just being like a giant fiesta, instead you have a card that's actually kind of giving you the edge of that match. If you play it early on, it forces action from your opponent, gets him down to that dangerous life total so you can get the first anything for lethal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Goodbye, Notebook.
Well, hang on. It's still in the matchup.
I don't need to do math anymore.
I've got my trusty abacus.
Yeah, so Kolento off to a great start here. Kolento, of course, keep in mind his other decks. He's got the Tank Up Warrior, the Removal Super Hyper Late Game Control Warrior. And then he also has a Reno Warlock. And the Reno Warlock that he has is a very value-oriented Reno Warlock. I don't think it runs combo. So it's just based off, very minion, value-centric minions. So we'll have to see how that's going to line up against Hot's decks here. Still don't know what the other 2 decks from him are. Wouldn't be surprised if both players are running the same lineups. It would make sense with Hot's mage deck being like a freeze mage with that full control style. So Kolento is going to throw out the control warrior. This matchup's fun. I like this matchup.
Yeah, this one's usually pretty anyfin favored. They just kind of play a normal paladin game but have 2 gigantic win the game style spells with those anyfins can happen. If you guys are missing an abacus, by the way, you can go to the App Store and download Abacus to get a simulator on your phone. I don't know. I just thought of it. I hope it is.
Okay. Oh, man. But there are some things you can do in this matchup to win as the control warrior. There's a couple of crucial things that you're looking for. One, just guard True Heart relatively early, of course. That's how it is in most control matchups. 2, you want to save your Sludge Belchers and save your Brawls until after the anything can happen. You want to try and hold on to that as long as possible. Because what you do is you basically build up as much health total as possible. The Paladin will play their first anything can happen. You Brawl, slam a Sludge Belcher. Then they have to spend 2 attacks. And then the second anything can happen comes out. If you have enough life, the second Brawl plus the second Sludge Belcher should be enough for you to block the damage. But that means you do have to get that to card early. Or you do have to build up enough life for that to be the case. But that's how you win this matchup. It seems really linear, but it does come down to that exact situation many, many times.
Yeah, that's a tough situation to set up too. I mean, you made it sound easy, but it's very difficult. It's going to be like, well, to become a professional baseball player, you start when you're early, you play a lot of baseball, you move your way up through some AA ball.
Make sure you eat at least 2,000 bananas between the ages of 5 and 14.
Done. Yeah, it's a lot of setup to get to that point.
Yeah, 84 grams of protein a day on average.
Kolento does have kind of the hand that could build towards this point, though. I imagine this Doomsayer is going to be left here.
Well, I'd also imagine that Kolento knows how to play this matchup, which means that you're not going to see Sludge Belcher played. You're not going to see Brawl played. The only way you'll see it played is if Kolento thinks that his only win condition, his only way to win will be to try and pressure his opponent out of the game. Or if he feels like he's under too much pressure to where he has to play it to block damage. Because the Sludge Belcher is sort of the secondary part. The Sludge Belcher doesn't matter if you don't have enough health to back up the Sludge Belcher. But holding on to it and holding on to the Brawl are two of the key win conditions in this matchup against Murloc Paladin.
So, taking his time. What? Am I missing something? Oh, he wanted to make the Solemn Vigil more expensive. Kalento's so smart.
Yeah. I don't know if it matters that much. He misses 3 damage to make it cost 1 more mana. Like, he's still going to be able to play it for cheaper next turn. Is the difference between 2 mana and 3 mana really that big? But I guess Kolento thinks that it is. It's a cheeky play. Kind of neat, little bit of creativity coming out.
That's so smart. That's just smart. Like, as soon as I saw it happen, I was like, that's literally what he was thinking about. I wouldn't have thought about that. I'd have gone, yeah, 3 face armor up, go.
Yeah. But he realized that this game is all about the long game. It's not about putting damage on the face. It's about efficiency. So, I mean, I guess it does matter in the long run because the face damage means absolutely nothing. A lot of times you just run the Murloc Paladin out of cards. They're out of stuff. And then you just win by default because they have nothing left. So now it's up to Kolento to find just a card True Heart and to build up his health total. Those are his 2 goals here. And right now, I think his chances are decent because he has initiative on the board. He does have a lot of armor gain in his hand. The only piece he's missing is that Justicar True Heart. And of course, second Belcher, second Brawl. But he has plenty of time because...
Yeah, he really does.
Because Hot Asian Girl has to draw into so many more pieces than just that. He has to draw into all of his Murlocs plus both... plus both of his significant evidence. We are adults.
The 7th hour of casting has begun at this point. Yeah, I'm just gonna Grom here. Not really. I'm honestly not really surprised to see this Grom because it feels like it's playing right into the exact way you just mentioned, where if he just pressures Hot, he can get him to a point where he's expended a lot of resources that ends up restricting his options, and he can kind of coast to that later game point where he needs that giant collection of cards to make a big impact. Mm-hmm. And so if he can continue to occupy turns and occupy resources, that is just a way to win. So it's going to be Equality and Consecrate here to take care of it. So, I mean, I'm guessing Kolento would have just liked to not see that happen. But now he's still trying to build that point. It feels like he's been trying to get the True Silver out as well. Second Sludge Belcher in the hand. This is going to start being bashes at this point. Now bash Acolyte, force that True Silver charge, and just keep armoring up.
Yep, armor up every turn, remove the board every turn, and hold on to your important cards. He's playing it. He's playing it right. The question is, can he get above that health threshold? Usually between 40 and 50 life is what you need to survive. It does depend on the variance of the anything can happen. Does pick up the Justicar True Heart. That is such an important draw moving forward here. So I'd say Kolento now might be able to just turn the corner here and build up enough health. Hot has just not played enough Murlocs to be able to pressure Kolento out quick enough before his health total reaches that sort of critical mass where his damages won't be able to reach it anymore. But still some tough turns. He does want to make sure that he fits armor up in, so I wouldn't be surprised if he shield blocks, bashes and fits in the armor up again, or even death spites and then armors up again. Another thing that makes the Murloc turns a little bit easier as well is if you also have a weapon equipped when the first anything can happen hits, because that means that you can brawl, play the Belcher, and then kill whatever Murloc comes out of it. That doesn't matter if a war leader comes out because you love to see war leaders. You don't want to see charges because it's quantity of attacks that matters in the later stages, not necessarily quantity of murlocs, just quantity of charge minions. So he's going to use the Despite instead.
Yep. Just taking it slow. Justicar is pretty much, I would say, the key card in this matchup. Like, without Justicar, basically everything you described is much more difficult to pull off.
Yeah.
So, lay on hands. He's going to go ahead and heal up that 1/1. Just keep digging for the right cards. Anything can happen. Still missing a lot of the Murlocs, though. This was a weak turn from Hot, and Kolento has got to be very happy about that.
Mm-hmm. This is basically just a free Justicar turn. I mean, armor up, Justicar, armor up. You want to get that out as quick as possible. I think maybe what he's thinking about here is whether or not he attacks to get rid of these 1/1s. But I think the actual play as far as what cards he's playing this turn is very spelled out for him. And after this turn, he's going to have reached that 38 health marker. So 38 health marker. So he's starting to get up to those ranges where he needs to be. And still, Hot just hasn't played enough Murlocs to start pressuring out. So the longer this game goes on, I feel like the better shape Kolento is going to be in. Right now, the only piece that he's missing is a bit more health and the second brawl.
The fact that you haven't seen Kolento play a Sludge Belcher this game, when he's had multiple opportunities to do so, tells me that he is right in line with that game plan, where he wants to set up the Sludge Belchers going into the second anything can happen to be that giant road hub.
Yeah.
Follow the rules.
He's got to just start chipping away at this armor total is sort of what he has to do. Concentrate on a 1/2. Doesn't feel that good, but I feel like it's a necessity at this point.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep things rolling. Kolento, I think, pretty likely to clean up this board with the Despite.
There's the brawl.
Second brawl and second Sludge Belcher, and he's got the tank up going. Dr. Boom's going to provide a little bit of pressure here, and no incoming damage afterwards, that tank up. So now Shield Slam's going to get a little bit better. Yeah, he's kind of got everything he needs. This is actually really interesting. I've never seen this matchup take place quite in this manner. Usually I just see the Warrior kind of flounder around and not really have any significant answers to this stuff.
Yeah, I played a heck of a lot of this matchup, and I've talked with a lot of players who play a lot of Control Warrior as well. Muzzy is the one that comes to mind. He's the one who pretty much taught me how to play this matchup from the Control Warrior's point of view. And since then, I've sort of switched my idea of who's favored. Control Warrior, I think, has a really great shot as long as you're playing the Super Removal Warrior and as long as you draw Justicar in a timely manner. There are scenarios where Paladin, the Murloc Paladin, could just burn you out. If they draw all their Murlocs early and play anything on turn 10 and you don't have a chance to build up the life total, or if they're playing the more minion-centric Secret Paladin, Murloc Paladin, where they play Muster for Battle, where they play Dr. Boom, where they play stronger minions and can pressure you and keep your life total in check. But, ooh, did he play Sludge Belcher?
Yeah, he certainly did.
Huh.
So, I'm curious. I mean, he may just be getting to a life total where he feels comfortable using his first Sludge Belcher.
No, I don't like that at all.
I don't really know. I don't have the expertise in this particular matchup to honestly say one way or the other.
I heavily disagree.
Okay.
I think he might have just thrown the game.
Wow. Well, Slam Revenge looks pretty good here. Slam, of course, on the Murloc War Leader. Use Revenge to clear these guys out, and then use Dr. Boom to finish off that old Murkai.
I'm trying to think what his plan here was by throwing out the Sludge Belcher there. He has no way to block the second anything can happen. Oh no. Okay, I take it back. You just need 2 brawls. You only need 1 Belcher.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. I was like, well,
yeah,
I think
you only need. Yeah, you only need 1 Belcher. You just need the second brawl. So no, this is okay. As long as you have the first Belcher, because he unless you want to preemptively Sludge Belcher into his first anything can happen, then this is fine. I take it back. But yeah, you basically play the first sludge. You basically play the sludge belcher after he plays anything can happen, and after you play brawl, and then you just block the second one. You block multiple attacks. So this is still okay. I apologize, Kolento. I do not heavily disagree. You didn't throw the game.
It's been a long day here for the two of us.
Yeah.
And we got plenty more to go. And tomorrow, you guys are in for a treat. You're welcome, America.
And EU.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, the second sludge belcher can be used to sort of clean up at the end. He does, I think, want to find a weapon. Because you do want to be able to answer whatever Murloc comes out of the brawl. Because you don't have enough mana to equip a weapon because you're brawling and then playing belcher. So he's still in a great spot. He's got enough health total now. I said between 40 and 50, depending on the variants. They can do upwards. They can do close to like 55, I think, through a belcher with both anyfin. So first anyfin does 22 after all Murlocs have been played, and then the second anyfin can, in total, with the first one can do up to like 50 something after 2 attacks go into the belcher if the perfect Murlocs come out, like double Murk-Eye, 3 Bluegill, 2 War Leaders, I think is the ideal. Maybe even 4 Bluegills.
Yeah. So interesting.
He still needs Murlocs, though. I mean, that's the thing. I think he still has 1 Bluegill left, and you cannot play the first anything can happen until all of your Murlocs have been played, or you won't have enough damage.
I'm just going to add Wild Pyromancer to get additional pressure. Wants everything he can. Oh, that's got to be a welcome draw right now.
Yeah.
Colento's hand was looking slim pickings. He needs all these cards to be cast at the perfect time. He cannot waste either the brawls or the sludge belcher. He has to hold on to those. And so anything he can draw that will extend his life total and get pressure on the board, it's going to be so good for him.
There's the Bluegill. Is that the last one?
Well, you're the one who said you had the notebook.
I threw my notebook.
I do remember that.
Threw it across the room.
I didn't throw my Apicus.
Good. Don't want to do that.
Yeah. Now, something else that can just happen here, too, is that if Hot can just continue to chip away and Kolento doesn't have a real answer to this, it can still build up. So I imagine Execute and Fiery War Axe could potentially both be on the menu this turn.
Yeah. It's a really interesting dynamic this matchup is. And I feel like it always culminates in sort of a very similar position. And a lot of it, like I said, just depends on whether or not the warrior can get that health total up. As long as you know how to play the matchup, it's relatively easy and straightforward. You just have to find the most efficient ways to keep your health total high. And Kolento has done that so far this game. So he's done everything in his power to give himself the best chance to come out on top. And having a Bluegill warrior on board when the first anything can happen is played is actually a big deal because it increases the damage that the first. Oh no, it doesn't. It's only a big deal if one is left on board for the second anything can happen, because it increases the number of attacks.
Hot making some headway now. Actually, that's the second hero power in a row, and there's been no progress from Kolento's side. So this damage is going to continue to add up now. Kolento needs to find something to take care of this. Gold Monkey is unplayable right now. There's no way that card's coming down.
Yeah. So this is actually an awkward spot for Kolento. Don't want to use the Brawl. Don't want to use the Belcher. You talked about that play earlier. Just Execute. He's taking more damage than he's blocking every single turn.
Yeah, I think Hot's going to be reluctant to draw for the rest of this game as well. I think he's content with just biding his time this way.
Yeah.
I wonder if Kolento actually can just keep this board state right here and fatigue Hot. Like, does he have the life total to potentially do that? Because Hot's not drawing cards anymore. I'm curious. I'd like to see the deck size to see where they are right now. Because if Kolento gets into a spot where Hot just can't cast, anything can happen, it's tough for him to actually get damage through. And
Yeah.
that requires you to have enough life and your opponent to be deep enough in fatigue that you can actually do that. But I think the big product here right now is that Kolento just does not have stuff in his hand he can cast. I still would have liked to see this a lot earlier. This would have prevented a lot of damage coming through, and he's forced to make the same play anyway.
Yeah. And he basically just took like 10 extra damage in that exchange.
Yeah, this might be possible.
Because of the change of game plans, which
Yeah.
he's right on that 50 life threshold. So he might even have to get a little bit, I dare say it, lucky with the rolls from Hot's anything can happen. His second anything can happen in order to win this game. Because how you do it is, like I said, Sludge Belcher absorbs 2 attacks. So if second anything can happen summons 4 War Leaders, then that's only 3 Chargers. So like the maximum amount of damage you can do is whatever the maximum amount of damage from 1 Murk-Eye would be for the second anything, which is not very much. If you get 6 Chargers on the other hand, it's possible. But I think Hot's got to go for it now. This is it. So this first anything can happen is going to deal 22 damage, which is going to take off most of the armor from Kolento. But the next one is going to be the important one. And what Kolento does not want to see here is the Murk-Eye come out of this brawl. If Murk-Eye comes out of this brawl, it's kind of a disaster because you can't kill with the Fire War Axe. It is Murk-Eye!
Oh, no.
No. That is bad news. So now Hot can get... He can get a second Murk-Eye plus 4 bluegills and a War Leader. Or no, 3 bluegills and a War Leader. Which means he can throw the 2 bluegills into the Sludge Belcher, and then he'd have 1 bluegill remaining in an old Murk-Eye that has 16 damage from the blue, or 12 damage from the bluegills. I still don't think it's enough. I think Kolento might have just gotten over the threshold.
We're going to find out. I mean, this is Hot. You do not have an option. We're going. He's actually considering equalitying here and suiciding in his Murk-Eye. That's actually what he's going to do.
I wonder.
So if he equalities and suicides a Murk-Eye, he has a chance to get 2 Murk-Eye on the backswing of this.
This turn, he's guaranteed 2 Murk-Eyes.
But my point is that he wants to try to squeeze through the Belcher this way. So if he equalities right now and runs in the Murk-Eye and then makes a token, he can run... I guess he does nothing to the tokens. The token doesn't matter here. But he gets past the first half of the Sludge Belcher here.
I honestly think that this is exactly the same. He just he reduces the chance that he has 2 Murk-Eyes next turn. But he gets 1 more attack. So yeah, this is better, but he still can get screwed over next turn. The thing is, Kolento still can't play Monkey. You might think, well, you want to play Monkey because it gets a taunt, but no, you can't play Monkey because then you get rid of Brawl. You need something to get rid of the second wave of Murlocs. If you survive the second wave of Murlocs, it doesn't matter if you don't have a way to just remove them.
Oh,
so it all comes down to this. 35 health Kolento has. He can get through if he gets enough Chargers. He doesn't want to see too many War Leaders.
Not
That's
2 Murk-Eyes.
16, that's 30 damage. Oh my goodness.
This is not enough. He needed
Not
2
enough.
Murk-Eyes.
He would have had, if he had kept it last turn, if he had not killed the Belcher last turn, and he had played anything and got this exact board with 1 less War Leader, he would have had 36 damage.
Well, hang on. The game's not quite done just yet. So Brawl's going to happen. The Gold Monkey, I think, is going to wrap this up.
This game is, I'm pretty sure over.
Oh, Big Game Hunter even wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, no charges left for Hot. He has no way to deal damage. Kolento, yeah, he's going to scoop it up. Wow. So well played from Kolento. So very well played. Navigated this matchup expertly. Holding on to the 2 Brawls and Sludge Belcher. If you've been wondering how to beat this matchup as Control Warrior, this is the game to take notes. Kolento held on to 2 Brawls and one of his Sludge Belchers the entire game before letting them rip. I learned a lot by watching that game, and I hope y'all did too. That was a fantastic performance in game number 2.
Yeah. That's pretty nuts. Yeah. So his maximum possible damage. He did have a chance if he got. I don't know. I don't know if he had a chance either way. Because if he had gotten 2 Merc Eyes, he would have added a lot of extra damage, but he would have had a War Leader less. So his Bluegills would have done less damage. They would have done 6 as opposed to 8, and his old Merc Eyes would have been 11 instead of 14. So I just don't think that he had enough damage to push through regardless. He needed to win the brawl. I don't know. A lot of things had to go right, but at the end of the day, he just didn't get enough to push through. Didn't get enough.
Yeah, moving on to Control Warrior versus Reno, and Kolento playing what we believe is a non-combo version. He got very low in his deck yesterday, and we hadn't seen either Leroy Jenkins, Arcane Golem, or Faceless Manipulator. So we are in belief that this is a more standard non-combo style of Reno Warlock. And this is one that I know that without using Jiraxis gets very difficult for the Warlock to win if they don't have big combo damage. But at the same time, if they just stick enough threats to the board and kind of play it like a mid-range deck, you assemble a big enough assault that you can actually just punch through your opponent and kind of just kill them very easily.
Yeah. That has to be pretty demoralizing for Hot, though, and going into a matchup like that where a lot of players consider it to be favored for the Murloc Paladin and lose at the end there with some tough decisions. I think he played it correctly. I mean, there's a lot of math involved with that last decision. But in the end, he just couldn't push through enough. But now he sort of has to reset his mind and move in here to this matchup, which is going to be another long, grueling one.
Yeah, a long ways to go in this matchup. He's down 2 games to 0-2, so he needs 3 in a row if he's going to beat Kolento.
Tough task, having to reverse sweep one of the best Hearthstone players in the world.
Yeah, certainly so. Gosh, that last game is still so crazy. I'm still bewildered by that. That's actually the first time I've seen Control Warrior beat Murloc Paladin.
Yeah, it happened. There was, I think, 11 matches at the America's Championship of Murloc Paladin versus Control Warrior, and I think 8 of them went to Control Warriors.
Yeah, I was unable to actually watch most of that event, just due to other obligations that I had.
Yeah, it was crazy. I don't think I've ever seen that many Murloc Paladins in a single 8-man tournament. But today and yesterday, I think
when it comes to these sort of events, and then certainly for a live event too. You know, do you want to go on camera and strut your stuff with Secret Paladin, or do you want to do it with Murloc Paladin? I think that influences players' decisions a little bit as well. Doomsayer going to go off for Kolento. It's going to be life tap into Imp Boss for him. Pretty strong hand, honestly, for Kolento. And Hot, not really any shortage of ways to get the board going himself. If he wants to take care of this Imp Boss, it is going to be either coin and very often fight Secret Paladin on ladder. But tournaments are just a very different story. I mean, it's a different kind of crowd that comes to these sort of events, and then certainly for a live event too. You know, do you want to go on camera and strut your stuff with Secret Paladin, or do you want to do it with Murloc Paladin? I think that influences players' decisions a little bit as well. Doomsayer going to go off for Kolento. It's going to be life tap into Imp Boss for him. Pretty strong hand, honestly, for Kolento. And Hot, not really any shortage of ways to get the board going himself. If he wants to take care of this Imp Boss, it is going to be either coin Shield Maiden, Armor Up Shield Slam, or Despite. Looks like Shield Maiden's going to be his best option.
Yeah. A funny thing about the point you just made, I think, is even if you play a Murloc Paladin poorly, I think you're still perceived better by the community than if you had played Secret Paladin really well.
Which I personally can't stand. It's like it's a strategy that's legal within the game. What makes any strategy more or less scumbaggy than another strategy? Yeah, like your goal is to get your highest % chance to win in a tournament, right?
No, no, can't.
No, Steph Curry just shoots threes because they're fun, man. Not because he has such an insane percentage that it's a higher EV shot for him.
Yeah,
he just likes it.
Yeah, he might like it too. All right, this matchup is a little less straightforward than the last one. It's still close. But there's a couple key cards that we're looking for here. Did Kolento run Jiraxis, which is a big one? I don't remember.
Yeah. The last one kind of reminds me of like a sumo match where they're both like pushing their own game plan so hard that the one who ends up being the strongest at the end comes out on top. This one feels more like a fencing match where the player who kind of navigates the ebb and flow is the one who kind of gets that first hit, and then that causes a breakthrough and can snowball from there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. There are key cards that we're looking for here, though. Of course, Jiraxis being one of them, as I mentioned earlier, having that sort of inevitability, having the value from the 6/6s every turn is something that a control warrior has classically always struggled to deal with. I don't remember what type of Arena Warlock this was from Kolento, but I guess we'll see as the match goes on. Hot does not want to see... Well, I guess Kolento doesn't really want to see Jiraxis pulled from the Death Lord if he doesn't have in his deck.
Yeah, it's definitely a big one. I mean, Jiraxis is for all intents and purposes, Jiraxis is the main win condition of this build. It's very difficult to get a lot of pressure on the Warriors' life total with just kind of like a ragtag crew of minions that the Reno builds often have. They have great answers to pretty much every single minion you can play, and that's where Jiraxis is so important, is when the game has been ground down to nothing, you have Jiraxis standing alone in the arena cranking out Infernals, which the Warrior can no longer deal with past that point. So either the Warrior has enough pressure to kill you with Grom post Jiraxis, or they don't, and you crank out 6/6s for the rest of the game and pretty easily kill them afterwards. So if Jiraxis is just not in his build, I think this goes from what I would consider a pretty good matchup to a pretty terrible one. And if he does have Jiraxis, he really wants to avoid this Deathlord pulling that Jiraxis out of his deck. I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see an Ironbeak Owl.
Yeah, and I think this indicates that he does have the Jiraxis, just because if he didn't, I think he just would have dealt with it. But now he realizes that an Ironbeak Owl is necessary because there's some card in his deck that he really does not want to see pulled out from that Deathlord. And it could either be a Charger if he runs the combo version, or it could be the Jiraxis if he runs the more value-oriented version. That, at least Starseeker can be a key card in this matchup. But sometimes having like legendary after legendary is not what you need to win this matchup. You need to hold on to your removal as long as possible, because legendaries aren't going to fight for the board, and Reno Warlocks can pressure you. So sometimes you can get to reasonably low life totals by the time you're able to play Golden Monkey. Justicar Trueheart is pretty necessary as well, so Hot's going to want to pick up that as quick as possible. That's going to be a very welcome draw over the next couple turns.
Yeah. In the meantime, just continue to fend off the pressure on the board. Kolento doing a fantastic.
He overdraws though in most scenarios, unless he wants to utilize this Mortal Coil as just a 1 damage and not a draw.
Or that Voodoo Dock.
With that Voodoo Dock. Because right now he has 10 cards, and he would draw 2 from the weapon. So he needs to dump, 2 cards from his hand before he plays Harrison Jones if he doesn't want to discard.
Yeah.
Which
now,
would
that
mean
being said,
yeah.
I don't necessarily think that Harrison's coming down this turn. It's like this. I don't think it's a big priority kill on this Deathbite.
Mm-hmm.
If Hot was playing Patron, maybe thinking a little bit differently about it, but even then he's got so much AoE in his hand, it's not that big a deal. I think the Mortal Coil here for not drawing a card is more so just a consideration for not drawing too many cards, more than it is the other way around. And so Kolento just going to play it this way. So he is going to Harrison Jones. And Zombie Chow, not too bad. I mean, pretty much anything he can play on the board is pretty decent right now. He needed anything to just keep his hand size under control. Won't be life tapping this turn. And is going to Voodoo Dock up that Harrison Jones, it looks like.
If you get out a brawl here.
Does it to himself. Interesting. Maybe, I guess at this point he kind of wants to encourage executes from Hot rather than discourage them.
Yeah, sure. Because an execute now would mean that he paves the way for his bigger threats. He's got Sylvanas, he's got Molten Giant, even Sludge Belcher, probably Emperor Thorsand stuck into the deck as well. So that was an error. What did he do?
Looks like he got armor before he attacked. Looks like he armored up before he attacked
Okay.
with this weapon.
Yeah. Or
So
maybe he
definitely-
even, I think he might have attacked a higher health creature that he could have bashed anyway.
Yeah, that could have been the case too.
Yeah.
Either way.
A small mistake, I suppose, but you know, one that Hot realizes that those are the types of mistakes that you shouldn't make if you want to play at the highest level.
Kolento, I feel like, is navigating this matchup a little bit better than Hot is too. He's just kept pressure on the board the entire time. Hot's running a little bit low on resources. That's the second weapon to choose at this point. And not really too many ways to stabilize. I mean, the fact that he hasn't played the Elise has just been kind of meaning that Kolento just gets to play little tiny dorks and keep punching. Execute on the 3-2.
Yikes.
I mean, this is looking pretty grim at this point. I mean,
Yeah, he
Kolento's
does have-
hand is just full of minions, too.
He's going to be able to drop a threat every single turn. He's still at a reasonable life total. There's Reno Jackson. Doesn't mean too much right now, but could mean a lot as the game goes on. This is one of the matchups where it's not really that big of a deal. It's basically like a 4-6. A lot of times it's used after you play Jiraxis to heal you up from like 12 to 15. That's what Reno Jackson is used for a lot in this matchup, but looks like he's just going to go ahead and power overwhelming, get value out of that power overwhelming and that slime, and plop down that Emperor Thorsan. Threat after threat. That's the name of the game for Kolento at the moment.
Yeah, but since he's seen an execute and Hot's so low on cards, he just feels free to do this. Gore Howl comes in, and after you've seen that weapon destruction, that's got to feel good. Now, he is taking a sizable amount of damage here. He's down to 16, and Kolento still has a full hand. So the assault's going to keep coming from Kolento. And I'm curious if Hot's going to really have the hand to deal with this. I mean, he's got Harrison Jones in hand to take care of potential Jiraxis hands.
Mm-hmm.
But just, I mean, it's like nothing. It's like Brawl Gorehowl's good, but Kolento's just creeping closer and closer. Nerubian eggs in this build, even.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's a very unconventional choice. So, to me, I think this is because he had the Abusive Sergeant and the Power Overwhelming in here anyway. And if you play Nerubian Egg going into a Hellfire turn, it's a pretty significant swing on the board. So just going to take this time to play Molten Giant. Chip away for 2. Hot, no immediate answer to this without expending multiple resources.
He has to attack into it with a 6 damage Gorehowl in order to execute it. Or he has to effectively sacrifice his Grom Hellscream. It'll be at 1 health in order to execute it.
Yeah, I don't know, Kev.
But it looks like he is just going to go ahead and use the Just Guard Chuhar now while he can.
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit uneasy about this one. Doesn't attack the to an either. Dark Bomb for Kolento.
How much damage is that? Not
9,
quite
10,
enough.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 damage, it looks like. Yeah, it's just a bit off.
Yeah.
TJ just slamming his head on the desk at this point.
Yeah, sorry. I fell a little bit. I had to sneeze. Just had to scramble to mute my mic and then sneeze and slam my head right on my desk.
Kolento's got some tough turns. I mean, plenty of ways to like handle this, but he doesn't want to use resources he doesn't have to use.
Yeah.
And so that's going to require him not only to think about this turn, but he's got to think about the next couple turns. Am I going to need Dark Bomb? Can I close out the game with Dark Bomb? Do I need extra pressure on board? Am I playing too hard in the Brawl if I do those things? Yep, I don't mind the Hellfire here.
This plays into execute, but
It's that Piloted Shredder. This Draxus may not be in this build.
yeah. He's just outvaluing, and Drax is being taken out of the build, and Combo being taken out of the build means you have a lot more room in the mid game to put in minions in your deck that just are strong and fight for the board. And that's pretty much what Kolento's done here. Is every turn he just plays a minion and forces Hot to have an answer to it. And he finally manages to stabilize, but he's at 3 health. Goes up to 7 with the tank up, but man, he is getting dangerously close to going down in this one.
Twilight, just more action from Kolento. This is a fine game plan, actually, to just have so many extra threats in your deck. You can actually just beat your opponent up.
Yeah. Just use the card advantage that you gain naturally from the Warlock. But this is still a tough situation for Kolento. You can't just throw all your stuff out there. You You have to make sure you're doing it with a plan. You know that Hot's still holding on to Brawl. You have to know that that's in the deck, so you don't want to play too far into that. And you don't want to unload your hand too early also for the fact that Hot's going to keep getting out of range of lethal opportunities. He's going to keep tanking up every single turn. So it looked like he was headed towards that Bran and Twilight Drake, but it looks like he's going to hold on to the Bran and just play these 2 4-drops on this turn. And he's going to stop tapping now that he's getting closer to fatigue. I definitely like this. I think this is really smart play from Kolento.
Yeah. No Ruby Egg to go alongside this. Gonna hold on to that. Look for a better opportunity to get it on board. Maybe coupled with a Demon Wrath. Hot draws Shield Maiden. That's just looking so weak.
Yeah.
You know, is Hot thinking that Jiraxis may not be in here?
I don't know. We saw a few Rena Warlocks yesterday, and I know we saw some ones with Jiraxis. I can't remember if Kolento was one of those players. And Abusive Sergeant. So can Bran Abusive Sergeant in order to push through, but that doesn't really fit along with his game plan of playing around the Brawl.
There's Sylvanas. This could be a Shadow Flame here.
What does that accomplish?
It takes the 2/8.
Steals the Death Lord.
Yeah, so he can't lose Jiraxis if it's in his build. He also needs the extra card in his deck at this point. He's just running low on resources. And now he drops the Nubian Egg along with this. So now he'll have 2 potential drops post-Brawl. This is a really smart play from Kolento. This board swing means he's not losing a card from his deck. He has pressure going against Hot. And Hot is going to be forced to Brawl in this position. There's really not much of a chance that he's going to be able to do much else than that.
Has the map been played?
The map has not been played yet, I don't believe.
Okay. I was thinking, yeah, maybe another reason why he went for the Shadow Flame that turn was to force the kill on the Death Lord to maybe pull the monkey out of the deck.
It's a Sludge Belcher from here. Maybe not forced to Brawl at this point now. But at 6 life, the attack actually makes sense first that you have a chance to win the Brawl versus the other ways where Kolento's going to keep at least 2 minions no matter what. So that is really, his life total is really affecting his decisions at this moment. And he cannot afford to slip up. If he slips up just a little bit, this game is going to be over because he's operating on such a low amount of life total. Kolento's done a fantastic job keeping pressure this game. He's going to manage that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Bran.
I think this is lethal.
Bran, Abusive Sergeant, onto the Sludge Belcher. Big Game Hunter. Yeah, that's 6 mana right there. You Demon Wrath through the 1/2.
This is also lethal this way.
With Implosion, yeah.
Yeah, so there's he had 2 different ways to lethal his opponent this turn. Very well done by Kolento. Implosion's going to clear this off, 10 points of damage coming in. No need for Jiraxis, just applies a beat.
Abusive Sergeant, onto the Sludge Belcher. Big Game Hunter. Yeah, that's 6 mana right there. You Demon Wrath through the 1/2.
This is also lethal this way.
With Implosion, yeah.
Yeah, so there's he had 2 different ways to lethal his opponent this turn. Very well done by Kolento. Implosion's going to clear this off, 10 points of damage coming in. No need for Jiraxis, just applies a beatdown with a couple of extra minions from this deck. Kolento takes a very convincing 3-game set off Hot. Man, the more that I watch Kolento play in some of these long-term matchups, this really gives you a sense of how good Kolento really is. You know, for a long time, Kolento was very dominant in putting up a lot of performances, but a lot of it, I think, was in just being able to choose the right decks at the right time.
Yeah.
When Kolento is found in these late-game scenarios where he cannot afford to make any missteps, not only is he not making any mistakes, but he's forcing his opponents into these uncomfortable positions where they're operating on using resources in ways they feel uncomfortable doing. He's quite literally forcing mistakes from his opponent, and that's giving him a massive edge in some of these scenarios. I mean, this was truly a special match for you to watch. I mean, this was master-level play from Kolento.
Yeah, playing some decks that are pretty hard to navigate as well. You could see mastery over Murloc Paladin, over the Control Warrior versus Murloc Paladin matchup as well, which is something that doesn't come very easily. So Kolento is going to move on to the round of 16. to play further in this tournament. And all the players that have advanced to the round of 16 so far have been Firebat, of course, which we saw earlier, Amnesiac as well. Some unknown players in Firemancer and Dakota, and of course Nostum as well, moving on to the round of 16. Of course, the second place finisher. So far in the round of 16 of this major, we have the first and second place finishers from the America's Winter Championship. Lots of exciting stuff still to come. We have the rest of the day today. I think we're going to have a few more matches here today to finish off the round of 32. And then, of course, tomorrow, where we're going to finish off the tournament. $10,000 prize pool and 43 Hearthstone Championship Tour points to give away. So lots of cool stuff. Next match is going to be Trump versus Ivy. So we'll see if Trump can continue his streak and make it on, or if we're going to see another one of those unknown players make it to the round of 16. During the break, guys, make sure you head over. Still doing the CyberPower Gamer Extreme PC giveaway. Head over to the website, of course. Click that banner down below. A few-minute break before we jump into that next match, but don't go anywhere. More Hearthstone Major from PAX East presented by One Nation of Gamers will continue right after this.